That wasn't great. I just got a stern talking to from the authorities telling me that I should not be doing this here. That's fine.
Hey kid, wanna buy a big truck? I'm like, yeah.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sam and you're watching Adventure Vehiculist. And today I want to talk about the worst motorcycle that I have ever owned. A while back I bought a 2007 ZX6R Super Sport motorcycle. And if you're anything like me and you ride motorcycles, then you know that super sports are notorious. They're known to be super fast, super uncomfortable, and uncompromising. I personally have always had the opinion that I don't like super sports. I've had the opportunity to ride them on track many times, and the track is really the place where people say that a super sport shines, but even at the racetrack, I still prefer a more upright position. I grew up riding dirt bikes and supermoto stuff, so for me, a super sport just feels awkward, it's really uncomfortable, and it's extra challenging to ride versus other kinds of motorcycles. Now obviously, it's what we all see the racers riding on the racetracks, and we idolize those guys for how fast they can go around corners, and these are the machines that we see them using, which is why they continue to be predominantly the machines that we see ridden on the street. But I like to ride long distance. Pretty much every time I leave my house, I'm doing at least 100 miles, usually at least 200 miles on the street. I do like to go fast. I like to tear it up and rip on the street, just like everybody else. But for my riding skills and my style, I really prefer a hyper naked bike. I've had an MT-07, I've had an FZ1, I've had quite a few different motorcycles in the last few years, and for me, the upright riding position is really the most comfortable. It makes the most sense for my riding style, and it's how I can do long distance days and enjoy them. I recently had a Kawasaki Versys 650, and as nerdy as that bike is, and as old man boring as that bike is, and that bike gets a reputation as being boring, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was so much fun to ride. It handled great. It was all day long comfortable. It was everything that you need in a motorcycle. But I decided, okay, let's buy into the super sport just for the sake of it. Let's see, all my friends tell me, oh, you'll get used to it. It's uncomfortable, but you get used to it, and then it's really fun, and it's rewarding, and you gotta try it. So I tried it, and I went, and I bought a ZX6R. And it turned out to be the biggest mistake that I have made in motorcycling yet. I spent my entire budget on the best example that I could find. And in my budget, to be honest, the best example of a super sport that I could find was still not very good. It was pretty rough. It had obviously been crashed. I figured out later that it had been crashed, put back together, and then never ridden again, which is not good. I realized after riding it a couple of times and having a bunch of things fall apart that whoever put it back together did not put it back together correctly. But I got most of that worked out, I think. And I was able to ride it. The engine and transmission worked fine. I rode it about 1,000 miles. And in that time, I learned that I just absolutely hated that motorcycle. It was even worse uncomfortable than I thought it would be, than I imagined it would be. It hurt my back so bad after 20 minutes that I just wanted off the thing. It got to the point where I didn't even ride it anymore. I just left it sitting in the garage because I could not stand it. I also found it to be very challenging to ride. I've been riding motorcycles for 20 years, and I almost crashed it a couple of times because it was so challenging to ride. Anytime you're going even relatively slow, anything under 40 or 50 miles an hour, the bike felt so heavy, so top heavy. All your weight is on your wrists, and the steering feels really heavy, which just makes it so hard. Even going around a corner in a regular intersection, if you want to make a right turn at an intersection, is so awkward on these machines because they're designed to corner at 100 plus miles an hour. They're just not designed to be putted around at 35 miles an hour. I heard someone say that riding one of these machines is like driving an airplane but taxiing it around the runway, like you're not actually in the sky yet. And that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like, trying to ride a cruise liner ship through a creek or something. Like, it's just so unadapted for the environment. And at the opposite end of that spectrum, I would still take this motorcycle out and I would use it on this great canyon country road where there's these big winding corners where you can corner at 100 plus miles an hour. And I still found it really challenging to ride. I still found it more difficult to go fast on this motorcycle. I found it more difficult to control it than a comparable naked bike. There was multiple times where I whiskey throttled this bike, and luckily I've been riding long enough and I'm experienced enough that I knew how to back out of it and not get hurt. But I would be lying if I said that I didn't scare the hell out of myself a couple of times on this bike, because it's just so easy to mess up on it. And the craziest thing to me is that this thing was only a 600. It's not like I went and bought a 1000 Super Sport. This was a 2007 ZX6R that any kid could go buy. I don't know how many times I've heard young people say, "Oh, I'm going to get a 600cc Super Sport." In fact, while I was selling it, I had someone contact me and say, "Oh, hey, I'm really interested in this. I think I might want to buy it." And while they were telling me that, they mentioned it was going to be their first motorcycle. And I told the guy, I was like, "Dude, this is not a first motorcycle. I've been riding since forever and this motorcycle terrifies me. Don't buy this thing. Buy like a Ninja 300. I remember I said, I was being a smartass and I was like, "Don't listen to your friends." And he texted me back right away and he's like, "Dude, I was totally listening to my friends. All my friends were telling me to get a 600. If you don't get a 600, you're going to get bored of it in a few months." Guys, I hope that we can all understand that riding motorcycles is not a size measuring contest. Everybody starts somewhere. I started on an 80cc dirt bike when I was 12 years old. And you know what? It was too big for me. I wrecked it over and over and over again because I could not handle that little 80. And if you are a beginner and you go buy a 600, I promise you you're gonna wreck it. I promise you you're probably gonna drop it in parking lots a lot because they're so hard to maneuver through parking lots. I just don't understand where the logic is. I honestly don't understand why these motorcycles continue to remain popular, because they are just so awful. And if you have ridden any other kind of motorcycle, if you've ridden naked bikes, sport touring bikes, anything other than a 600 or 1000 Super Sport, then you're going to know that. You're going to know how awful these motorcycles are. Which leads me to conclude that the people who are swearing that you just gotta have a Super Sport to be cool have literally never ridden anything else. And that's just sad. So yeah, I sold the 2007 ZX6R pretty quickly after having bought it. And right now I'm not planning on buying another motorcycle anytime soon. We're right coming into the winter time, the rainy season here in Oregon, so more than likely I'm just gonna be chilling until springtime. I might try to score another motorcycle over the winter just because it is the time when motorcycles are the cheapest. But if I do buy another motorcycle, you can rest assured that it will not be a super sport. I will not be buying another super sport, probably ever. If I do, it will be a track only purpose motorcycle, and that's it. I will not ride it on the street. It's a terrible motorcycle to ride on the street. It's a recipe for disaster. Probably gonna hurt some feelings, but that's alright. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If you haven't already, please click the like and subscribe buttons, and make sure to join me on my next adventure.